You can lose a lot of body fat and build a lot of muscle just eating what I've shown you right here. Hi, I'm Mark McKillier with Live Anabolic, and today's video is gonna put you to sleep. This video is gonna give you just kind of a glimpse into what a typical day in my life is. And really, we're gonna focus on the food and the exercise, right? So I'm doing my best not to bore everybody to death. So let's just start off, with the food, because that's really a big part of everybody's daily life. What should you be eating for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm just gonna kind of pull stuff out of the refrigerator. Fortunately, I just went to the grocery store today. So this will give you a real typical idea of how I stock my refrigerator and pantry. And one of my biggest tips for you guys is, if it's not healthy, if it's bad for you, don't bring it in the house, because you will eventually eat it, all right? So I just make sure not to bring anything unhealthy into the house, real straightforward. And also, I'm super lazy. I hate to cook, but I am gonna show you what I do cook. All right, one meal prep thing a week makes about 7 or 8 meals, and you're gonna see me cooking it in a minute. But this is just typical stuff that I buy at the grocery store every time I go. This is chicken salad, this is broccoli salad, Greek salad, and a big thing of tuna salad, all right? So at the grocery store, and I shot a little video of this while I was there, you gotta avoid all the pasta and potato-based salads, all right? Most of the salads at the deli are not good for you. They just got a ton of processed carbs in them. But these two don't. There's some kale salad in there that's really good for you. Look, this is just tons and tons of protein and no cooking. You just throw it on some bread, but not just any bread, guys. This is keto bread. All right, 6 grams of protein per slice, only 1 net gram of carbohydrates. Huge. Get this. Don't even bother with the wheat bread and all that kind of stuff. All right, this is my meal prep. So my meal prep includes rice and a lot of times salmon, but some protein. I try to get 2 pounds of whatever protein and 3 bags of rice. And then I'm also, because I hate to cook and I hate to prep, I'll get frozen veggies. So I get 3 bags of frozen veggies, and I'll show you this later when I'm cooking. So I throw them all in a skillet. One of my little tips, all right, for late at night when you get the munchies, here we go. Sugar-free popsicles, all right? No protein. It's not necessarily good for you, but there's only 15 calories per popsicle. So that's a great way to kind of satiate maybe your late night sweet tooth cravings. Let me show you what else. Okay, milk. Milk is really good. I mean, I typically get 2% milk because it doesn't have as many calories. Problem is, milk spoils pretty quick. So I get this almond milk, but you have to look for the protein almond milk that has the extra protein. So this has 8 grams per cup, which is the same amount as just plain old whole milk does. Man, I got my pickles over there. Oh, here we go. Remember, I'm lazy. I'm not gonna buy apples and slice them up and wash them. Same thing, I'm not gonna buy tangerines and pull them apart. So this is just mixed fruit. Tangerines, apples, strawberries, blueberries in there. That'll last me probably a week. I get a bunch of these. All right, guys. Yogurt, Greek yogurt. This thing has got 12 grams of protein, and it tastes incredibly sweet. Yes, it does have some added sugar in there, but still it's only 80 calories and 12 grams of protein. I eat one of these every single night about 9 or 10 o'clock. Okay, it tastes almost as good as ice cream, I think, but it's actually really good for you. What else am I got in here? Oh, here we go. Forgot about this. This is biggie. So I use this keto bread, with my tuna fish and my chicken salad, but look, that's 1.5 pounds of sliced roast beef, all right? So I go to the deli, you got all that meat, doesn't matter. You can do turkey, you can do chicken breast, you can do ham. Almost all that meat in the deli is really good for you. It's almost all 100% protein. No carbs, very little fat. Throw a bunch of this on that keto bread with a little mayonnaise and a pickle slice. Dude, that's a fantastic meal. I love cheese, all right? You know, this has got a modest amount of, well, 7 grams of protein. That's actually pretty good. So I love my cheese with my sandwiches. And what, oh, breakfast. What do I do for breakfast? All right, here we go. Typical breakfast. Get this, guys. You can have cereal. All right, are you falling asleep yet? Wheaties. Wheaties protein. All right, you got to find the protein Wheaties. 22 grams of protein in a serving, one bowl. And you know what else I do with this thing? I add a scoop of whey protein to my cereal every morning with my protein milk. Dude, that's like, I don't know, 30 grams, 40 grams of protein just in a bowl of cereal. That's fantastic. I also buy Kashi cereal, and they have some versions of the Kashi that have got 12 grams of protein in them. A lot of fiber too. And I put the protein powder on this too. Makes it taste better, I think, way better. That's a typical breakfast. Eggs and bacon. Remember, I don't like to cook much, right? So I love going out to breakfast. I'll read the news and I'll get my eggs and bacon and eat a pretty healthy meal, okay? And then finally, when I'm eating home and I'm having, you know, my cereal and everything, protein bar with my coffee. So a typical breakfast for me is about 60 grams of protein. And it's not a lot of food. It's not some big heavy breakfast that's gonna make you, you know, sluggish and fall asleep when you go to work, all right? So when I'm eating my sandwich, right, just a sandwich with a pickle, kind of boring. I love these cheddar flavored rice cakes. Yeah, they got, you know, plenty of refined carbohydrates in them, but I think the glycemic index is lower than if you were just eating, you know, potato chips. I think these are a little better for you, so I tend to munch on these when I'm having my sandwiches. So guys, that's a typical, not just day of what I eat, but that's a typical week of what I eat. Now, I'll still go out to dinner with, you know, with friends and family, you know, probably once a week. And like I said, I typically go to breakfast maybe twice a week, and that's always going to be eggs and bacon. You can lose a lot of body fat and build a lot of muscle just eating what I've shown you right here. And while I got all this stuff here, most of us probably don't drink enough water, me included, because it's just kind of boring. But this is a flavored carbonated water I get at the grocery store. It tastes fantastic. It's got 0 calories in it, and it's carbonated. It really it fills me up. And also because it tastes good, I'll drink a lot more of this than I will just drinking tap water, you know, out of the faucet. So this is another good little trick. All right, guys, so this is my normal meal prep. I'm using salmon as my protein source. Sometimes I'll use ground beef, you know. Sometimes I'll use chicken breasts and I'll chop them up. But I typically try to get 2 pounds of whatever the protein is. And this was a big piece of frozen salmon that weighed right at about 2 pounds. So I'm gonna cook this first, all right? Then I'm gonna set it aside. Then I'm gonna throw my veggies in there and just basically thaw them out because they're frozen, and cook those real quick, pull them out, and then I'm gonna put in the rice and heat it up and then put everything back in and stir it up, and it's actually looks good and tastes fantastic, and it makes a ton of food, and it's incredibly healthy. So that's a good combination. You know, and this is all I do. Whether it's, I mean, salmon is real easy to chop up. I just poke it with my spatula here. I don't need to put it on a cutting board. And of course, ground beef is the same way. You don't have to do anything with it. The chicken is the most trouble. So I'll just cook the chicken breast. I'll have to get, you know, 4 or 5 chicken breasts, about 2 pounds worth. And then you got to cut them up into little cubes. All right. And, you know, I just do that while the frozen veggies are thawing out and getting cooked over there. So this only takes about 30 seconds and I'm done. I cook this down until all the water kind of boils off and it starts to dry out a little bit and get just a little crunchy. Just another probably 4 or 5 minutes. All right, guys, the formula is 3 bags of this Uncle Ben's rice. It's already cooked. I'm just heating it up. 3 bags of rice, 2 pounds of whatever protein, and then I get 3 of those little frozen bags of veggies. That's the what I think turns out the best combination of everything. But you need to have a big Tupperware tub. So here we go, guys. This one, it starts to get really nice and fun. Oh, the other thing. This is not a regular 12-inch skillet here. I tried that for years. I had to buy this. I think this is a 14 or 16-inch skillet. So it's an oversized skillet. You know, it was like 40 bucks on Amazon. So basically, I'm done with the cooking. I'm just going to mix now, okay? I'm just kind of stirring it up, getting the rice and the veggies and the salmon all kind of mixed together here. And then I'm just going to pour it in that Tupperware tub and I'm done. All right, guys. Is that going to fit in this little Tupperware tub? Look at there. It fits. Ta-da! And the nice thing about this is there's almost nothing to clean up. I got a skillet and a lid and a spatula. And that's the only thing I got dirty. And this thing weighs about, I don't know, 4 pounds. It's heavy. And I bet you that's the equivalent of 7 or 8 large servings. I mean, you could serve your entire family, you know, twice over with that. And it's not all that expensive either. I mean, it's surprising how reasonable it is. And can you see that? So it's not too much rice, okay? I've tried it when I was using 1.5 pounds of protein, and it just seemed like I wasn't getting enough protein with every bite of rice. And 3 bags of veggies seem like it's about the right ratio, all right? And that's just kind of what I've come up with over the years. All right, guys, in an effort not to totally put everyone to sleep, we're not going to show you video of me eating breakfast and lunch, but yes, for breakfast, I had my Wheaties with a scoop of protein on there and milk and a protein bar. And, you know, that all adds up to, you know, like 70, maybe even 80 grams of protein. And so that was very typical breakfast. I probably do that 4 days a week. My lunch was the keto bread with a bunch of sliced roast beef on there, and a little mayonnaise and a pickle slice and some of those cheddar cheese flavored rice cakes. But that's another 35 grams of protein, just roughly off the top of my head. And then you saw me cooking dinner, all right? So that's what I'm gonna have for tonight. And that, you know, I'll probably get about 30 grams of protein in my meal tonight for dinner. And then later on, I'll have my Greek yogurt. That's 12 grams of protein. And then, of course, the popsicles have got no protein in them, but they're basically just flavored water, frozen water. But, you know, at the end of the day, all said and done, I'll probably end up with about 150 grams of protein, sometimes more, you know. If I have a protein shake in the afternoon, oh, that's it, excuse me. I drink a 40-gram protein shake when I leave the gym every day. So that's another 40 grams. Yeah. So I'm pushing 190 grams of protein on a typical day. And I guarantee you, the vast majority of guys watching right now don't get nearly enough protein in a typical day. So I got a lot of other videos about nutrition on this YouTube channel you guys need to check out, where I give you some other pointers on other things you can do as far as, you know, increasing your protein intake. All right, so guys, this was a typical workout for me today. I happen to be doing shoulders and biceps. So, you know, I hit several different exercises for shoulders. I like hitting my rear delts. Most guys totally forget that. Several different exercises you can do for that. I was doing the cable crossover, you know, rear delt flies. I did some one-arm lateral raises on the cable crossover machine. So I did my right arm and then my left arm, of course. And while I was waiting, you know, in between sets for my shoulders to kind of recover, I would do some curls. So I was doing some rope handle hammer curls on the same machine I was doing the one-armed lateral raises on, which is kind of a trick I do when I work out on a regular basis. One of my favorite exercises for shoulders that I never skip is just dumbbell lateral raises. So I was doing dumbbell lateral raises, and guess what? While I'm resting in between sets, I start doing dumbbell curls. And while my biceps are resting, I do another set of lateral raises for my shoulders. So, it's a real efficient way to design your workout program, guys. And then I finished up over on the military press machine for my shoulders. And I also, while I was resting in between sets on that, I would walk to a different machine, which was a bicep machine where I was doing some curls on a machine this time. And I was just walking back and forth, between military press and this other machine curl. So, hey, that was a typical workout for me. Going to the grocery store, doing my meal prep today, shooting these videos, doing my workout, and then I need to get on Facebook and answer everybody's questions on our Facebook group. And if you're not a member of our Facebook group, you need to join now. And then, of course, finally, always sticking with it and never giving up on yourself.